Hi, I'm John DeDakis, and you're one-to-one with me. And I'm one-to-one with Candace Fitzgerald. There she is. Hi,
Hello.
Candace. How are you? Where are
I'm
you?
Hello. I am in Lenoka Harbor, New Jersey.
And where's that near?
That is near the infamous Jersey Shore. It is. It's near
I don't
Tom's River and where that infamous show is filmed.
I don't hear any Jersey girl accent. What's up with that? Can you
No,
do one? You're a voice actor. Can you do one?
I don't know if I can do that one on the spot. Oh man. Um, I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, where you are from.
That's where I'm at
And
now, right?
yes, and I grew up in York, Pennsylvania, in New Freedom, Pennsylvania.
Excellent. Well, let me just read a little bit to tell people who you are and why we're doing this. Candace is a SAG-AFTRA and AEA professional actress and voice actor. And I'm familiar with SAG, that's the Screen Actors Guild.
Mhm.
AFTRA is the American Federation of something. Of what?
Of after now I'm blanking.
While you're
Of
blanking,
TV
radio.
radio
Mhm. No longer a member in good
association.
standing, apparently. And what is AEA?
That is Actors Equity Association, and that is for all the actors who work on stage.
Got it. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, you studied music theater at the prestigious Circle in the Square Theater School in New York City, and you performed in numerous theatrical productions throughout the country. You met your husband in a Theater Works USA production of Charlotte's Web. What role did you have?
I was Charlotte, of course.
And Candace found her passion in voice acting, and she's using her storytelling skills in corporate narration, e-learning, and audiobooks, which is why we're talking, because Candace is the voice of Lark Chadwick, who is my protagonist and right now Candace is working on Fake, the most recent novel in the Lark Chadwick mystery series. Also, Candace can occasionally be seen in front of a camera in films from ifitfits.com, and we'll talk about that. It's her husband's production company. And when she's not sitting in her little black box that you see there, she is teaching public school music and spending time with her family. So thank you, Candace, for doing this.
Of course.
You are such a fun person. And there were about 24 people who auditioned for the part, and you get Lark. And so it was an easy call in many ways. So you've been working on the book, and so how's it coming?
It's coming. I'm actually right on schedule with what I have planned to be. I thought maybe I would be a little ahead of schedule, but life happens. We had some trips planned to see my parents who are still in York, Pennsylvania. And then my uncle passed away, so we traveled again. So that put some projects back a little bit. But right now, I have 6 chapters left to record the raw audio for. So I'm last night I recorded up to chapter 41. And my editor has proofed and pasted and sent me all the pickups that I need to do through, I believe, chapter 18 now-ish, around there. So once I get these last 6 chapters done this week, I will start in on all the pickups, and then it will be mastered and ready for Audible.
Tell me what pickups are and what mastering is.
Sure. Pickups are all of my mistakes, which...
Oh, so this could be a long journey, right?
It could be. Actually, no. The pickups, most of them that she has sent, I already asked you about one, and I'm blanking on what it was, but it was a pronunciation type, and you agreed that how I had pronounced the name was correct. And then it's a lot of, I didn't hear this D in the word wouldn't, so it's a lot of me just acting in the booth and not, kind of speaking how we would speak, but this mic is so sensitive that it mostly picks up all of your consonants. And then if it doesn't pick up one, if I don't say it clearly enough, it really is a jarring thing and needs to be fixed. So she checks all of those things, checks to see if my, pacing has lagged a little bit. any pronunciations that maybe there's two ways to say things, and I picked one that isn't most often said, which I think did happen once. So I have to look back and look at those pronunciations. So she's really gone through with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm really happy that she is like that because I think that's important. So once I'm finished with all the raw recordings, which is just, you know, the first take basically of a chapter, and I send them to her, I'm going to go back and listen and look at all her comments in the manuscript that we share and listen and see where I can do that pickup so that it's seamless. And then she can repaste that. And then once I hand over the completed voiceovers for the chapters, that gets sent to the person who is going to master the file, which just kind of sweetens my sound.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It sounds like quite a involved process.
It is. It is. A lot of audiobook narrators, especially who do indie books and are, you know, kind of auditioning on ACX, which is where we found each other. A lot of them proof, pace, and master on their own. It's not really, I guess, recommended, because proofing, especially, you always want another ear, you know, checking up on mistakes that you're absolutely going to miss. But a lot of people proof or pace and edit and master themselves. But I just really wanted to put that in somebody else's hands, so I wasn't stressing over that, and I could really focus on the character work and the narration and really put the best product I could forward.
What I want to do right now, and we'll see if this works. You know what I'm going to do, because I'm.
Oh man!
when we first started working together, one of the things that's supposed to happen is that when a voice actor gets the contract and is starting to work it, you submit the first 15 minutes for my approval. And of course, you know, you're not doing just Lark Chadwick, you're doing Lionel Stone, who's, you know, in his 70s, and his wife, and all these other voices.
Yes.
And Lionel is a strong character in the book. And so this is a coaching session that you and I had, and I'm going to see if I can share the screen and the audio. So those of you who are watching and listening, if you can't hear the audio, please send me a notice in the chat so that I, you know, don't waste your time. It's not that long a clip, but I certainly don't want to have you just watch Candace do lip flap for a minute and a half, because we'll be able to hear, but I want to make sure you all can hear. So I'm going to share my screen, and so that means I go there. I go to the window function. I see you. I'm pulling you
Technology.
up. Oh my God. And now I'm going to hit roll the videotape.
I'm just going to do an exercise. I'm just going to do a plank.
Oh,
For a second.
I should probably do that too.
Hold on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, this is why we're not doing it live.
It's on tape. It's
That was hysterical.
I'm also going to stand. Let's see how this affects.
Anyway, a man and his wife were on a guided tour of Red Square near the Kremlin. Their tour guide was a local guy named Rudolph. Lionel started to chuckle in anticipation of the belly laughs to follow. During the tour, the weather suddenly turned bad. Was it rain or was it snow? They couldn't be sure. The husband insisted it was snowing, but their tour guide disagreed and said it was raining. Here's how the wife settled the dispute. She gave her husband a stern stare and said, "Rudolph the Red knows rain, dear."
There you go. I think
Maybe standing for him.
standing helps,
Yeah,
because that, I think that uses way more of your diaphragm.
I
and
think so
all of
too.
that. And
Yeah.
you know, Lark is not a problem. Lark is good no matter
Yeah.
wherever you are.
Yeah. I mean, for all commercial short form stuff, I stand.
okay. We'll stop the videotape. I'm gonna. It's just you and me, kid. Now, but I didn't mean to embarrass you, but that was the moment. And really it underlines how much of a professional you are. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
you really take that seriously.
I do. Well, I think character work is very physical work, and we weren't quite getting the voice that we wanted for Lionel. So I needed to try something. And I think it worked. And now every time Lionel's in a scene, I leave the booth and I do some planks and I do some low, chest sounds and get my breath really low. And I stand for all of his chapters.
And he would appreciate that.
He would. I think he would. And honestly, he was the character that I was super worried about going into this endeavor. And now he feels second nature. Yeah.
Okay.
He feels like an old hat.
Well, I mean, and the thing is that one of the bits of advice that you give to your clients is, you author, you already know how this person sounds, but that's not necessarily how I'm going to interpret it.
Yeah.
And so there's a real, I guess there's sort of a mutual respect thing going on where I need to respect your professionalism, and if there's a judgment call, you'll ask, but that, and so I guess I'm saying that as well because readers in many cases know my characters really well. And so it's even dangerous for me to be doing this interview with you because people now see you and they go, well, that's not Lark.
I know. I know. Well, or now they will have, I tend to put somebody's face or my face to characters, heroines I'm reading, so now, if they had a different voice in their head or a different face in their head, perhaps it's a little jarring for them. And every one of your readers is going to have, maybe they use their voice, maybe they, use their mother's voice or a friend's voice for characters that they're reading. So everyone is going to have a different interpretation, but that's what makes the art form so beautiful, I think.
Well, tell me how you made the transition from theater, and I would imagine that you'll still be doing theater going forward, but primarily you're doing voice work. So how did you make that transition?
Well, honestly, I lived in the city for about 10 years and I went to Circle in the Square, and theater is my first love. And I wish I did more theater now, but I lived there for 10 years. Now it's been about almost like 8 years since I've lived in New Jersey. And I kind of let it go because I wanted a family. The hustle on, pounding the pavement with the auditions was just, that's your job. And it just wasn't really conducive to where I wanted to be in life. So I took a break, and I've been teaching middle school, high school, next year elementary school music in public schools. And while that is fulfilling, I've always felt, that I missed theater and acting and expressing myself artistically in this way. And I think I'm drawn to the audiobook art form because it is so close to theater. I think more than any other voiceover genre, which there are so many, I can be my one-woman show here in this booth every night. And it's really been this past year that I've really gotten into voiceover and explored so many different genres and kind of just cast a wide net because I had never considered this as any. Voiceover never really entered my mind before almost exactly a year ago. I took a class. Her name is Stephanie Pam Roberts. I took her intro to voiceover class. She's a friend of mine, and she did a show with my husband many years ago. And I was like, oh, I want to support a friend. I miss, doing something artistic. We're in the middle of a pandemic. I just had a baby. I want to take this class. And my husband was like, oh, okay, weird, but all right, do it. And after that class, I was just like, I need to start a business. And I need to pursue this art form that I've never considered, and I'm going to spend my year of maternity leave doing this. And I'm so glad I did. I'm just so glad
Well,
I did.
I
I've
am.
never
I
been
am.
happier.
I am too. I'm really glad that we met and that we've been working together.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering if you would be willing to read a little excerpt just to kind of give us a feel for how it works, and then maybe
Yeah.
we can, in a sense, deconstruct it so that I can understand your thought process. But
Yeah.
are you able to call up that scene?
Yeah. I have it here. Let me just take a quick.
Are you going to do another plank?
No, I don't think Jake needs
Okay.
he's too swarmy for a
Okay.
plank.
Okay, this is a professional voice actor getting ready to read his scene.
As I choke on my water.
Okay.
That bodes well.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. Some people are actually putting hearts in, so that's an
I'm crying now because I'm choking.
encouraging-
and from your hearts.
Right.
Okay. So before I record every night, I do tend to do a little like 5-minute cardio workout that helps loosen up my vocal cords, loosen up my body, and then I take a shower to help the steam help everything open up, and I brush my teeth to help with mouth noise so my editor doesn't want to murder me with a ton of strange mouth noises in the microphone. So that's how I start, and then I get down to it once all the kids go to bed.
Okay, well,
Okay.
have fun with it.
Okay, let's see here. It's on my other screen. Chapter 35. The guy at the table smirking at me looked to be about 50 and extremely fit. Definitely my type. But I wasn't in the market and had too many other more pressing issues to deal with. Are you a practitioner of automatic writing? The guy asked, taking a sip from a glass of what looked like iced tea. Excuse me? You are writing like a fiend, not even pausing to think. Oh, yeah. I laughed. I was writing in my journal, trying to sort out some stuff that's going on in my life. You must be living one hell of a life. You could say that. The name's Jake. He reached over to shake my hand. I gave his fingers a squeeze. Nice to meet you, Jake. You live around here? Nah, I was just in the area visiting a friend. You? I live back over there. He nodded vaguely behind me. As I paid my bill and packed up my stuff, I took stock of him. He wore a hunter green t-shirt, which he filled out nicely, khaki shorts and sandals, no socks. His thick salt and pepper hair was rafishly unkempt and curled at the ears and on the back of his neck. He was deeply tanned, except for a narrow strip of white skin on his ring finger. Well, it was nice meeting you, Jake. I didn't catch your name. I didn't throw it. He laughed. I like your sass. Let me guess. It's Jennifer. Nope, but nice try. Seems like every hot chick I've been meeting lately is named Jennifer, he said. I suppose. You look vaguely familiar. Have we met? He asked. I shook my head. I don't think so. I never forget a face, especially one as pretty as yours. He probably thought he was racking up cool points with me, but Jake was striking out badly and didn't know it. I smiled perfunctorily and turned my attention. I smiled perfunctorily and turned my attention to signing the check and stuffing my credit card and laptop back into my messenger bag. Jake kept studying me, genuinely vexed that he couldn't place me. Seems to me I've seen you on television. Are you famous? More like infamous, I said without thinking. What do you do? He pressed. What do you do? I found that the best way to take the focus off myself is to shift the spotlight onto the other person. In my experience, people like to talk about themselves, and this guy was no exception. Mostly, I work out and count my money, He laughed. I highly recommend retirement. What did you retire from? The United States Marine Corps. 2 hours, 2 tours in Afghanistan. Thank you for your service. You're entirely welcome. He dipped his head gallantly. And at last count, how much money do you have? It was a test question. Most normal people would be offended, but I suspected that Jake would relish the opportunity to brag. He puffed out his chest. At last count, a few mil, give or take. He scowled. Seems like my ex is trying to do all the talking. Seems like my ex is trying to do all the taking. Uh-huh. You made your millions in the Marines? He shook his head. Had my own company after I got out, then sold it for a nice chunk of change. Capitalism is the best. Well, Jake, I just figured it out, Jake said, his face brightening. What's that? You're what's-her-name, the president's girlfriend. Now I was intrigued. What gives you that impression? It's all over the internet. He dug into his pocket, extracted his cell phone, and did some serious scrolling. Here it is. He thrust his phone toward me so I could see the screenshot of the president with his hand on my shoulder. You're Lark Chadwick, Miss Fake News herself, he said proudly. So glad to have made your day. I stood. Me too. Say, is he any good in bed? I think we're through here, Jake. Hell, we're just getting started. His expression darkened and hardened. Why do you liberal media types hate this country so much? You don't even know me, Jake. Oh, I know your type. While I'm getting shot at in Afghanistan, you're banging the president as his wife is dying, no less. I should have walked away. Instead, I took a deep breath, pulled my chair over to his wrought iron table, sat down, folded my arms on top of the table, leaned forward, leaned toward him. A minute ago, you're trying to pick me up, I said, trying to impress me with how rich you are, trying to flatter me about how hot I look. Then, when you realize I'm a journalist, you judge me based on information that's not even true. But do you even... He grabbed me by the forearm and squeezed so hard it hurt. Ow! He stuck his face in front of mine, lowered his voice, gritted his teeth, and hissed, Listen to me, you stuck-up snowflake little bitch. In Afghanistan, I killed better people than you. Let go of me, I demanded, my stern, even tone matching his. We were eyeball to eyeball. He tightened his grip. You need to be taught a lesson. His eyes were wild, crazed.
I wrote that.
Yes, you did.
You're doing great. In fact, somebody just made a comment. Excellent choice. Really good voice. I agree. Tell me. Look, I write as a woman, and you'll notice I'm not a young woman.
You're what?
Yeah. Big surprise. So, do I get it? Do I get what it's like to be a woman? Do you think?
I do think so. I think that's interesting. It's interesting how, like this scene in particular, this has happened. Nobody has grabbed me in a restaurant and, called me these names and said that I should be murdered. But, especially before the Me Too movement, walking down the street in New York City, the cat calls, and every girl has experienced that. And it really is a reality for most women in society, just in life. So yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Well, and this is typical of how some female reporters are treated since
I am sure
in the last 4 years. So that's what I was trying to capture.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw you had to stop. There are a couple, those would have been the pickups,
Mhm.
right?
Well, yes. So you're gonna make mistakes like that. That's gonna happen. I mean, I was still choking on water, so I would have probably waited another 5 minutes or so before that feeling was going away. And sometimes, and even though I've gone through everything and made notes where I wasn't sure how to pronounce a word that I don't use regularly, and I've made like IPA notes. Sometimes I still forget how I looked that up and what that's supposed to sound like. So before I record the chapter, I try to go through and listen to pronunciations again and make sure I know, but I'm still going to make mistakes and sometimes need to stop and reassess. Maybe my pacing was off. Maybe I tripped over some words, which, happens quite frequently. So I will stop and I use a method called punch and rolls, which I think is really important, especially for long form corporate narration and audiobook recording. So I set my audio to start playback about 5 seconds, and then I breathe and kind of talk with that as it's going, and then I pick up the sentence right where I want it to start recording again. Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
what was
So,
that?
I was just going to say, did you always know that you wanted to be an actor? Obviously, we know how the transition happened to voice, but acting it seems like it's in you and has always been in you.
Yeah, I do think so. I was always a very musical child. And before I really was introduced to acting, because my parents didn't really sign me up for acting classes at a young age, but we knew about singing and music, so they got me into all of that. I was never really a dancer. That was one art form that I just did not excel in. But I played piano starting in 2nd grade and then picked the violin up right after that. And I was in ensembles all throughout my high school, middle school, elementary school years. I studied violin at the Peabody Preparatory in Baltimore. My father drove me there every Saturday for private lessons all throughout middle school and high school. And I was in a couple orchestra and chamber ensembles there. But it was in high school that I really caught the acting bug. And I joined all the plays and the musicals. And that was just where I found my home and my friends. And I just knew from then that that's what I wanted to pursue. But I always had a practical streak, and I was nervous, and my parents were nervous to have me go to college for something that wasn't, a guarantee job right out of graduation. So I majored in music therapy, which I don't regret not starting acting sooner right out of high school, because that experience and my jobs working as a music therapist and my musicality have all informed where I am today and what my characters are and what I bring to the table when I am working on a project.
Well, and acting can be a very tumultuous lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, you seem like a fairly grounded person. Is there a secret to that?
I don't know. I think that's just in personality. My parents are grounded, so maybe it was, an upbringing. I've always felt a sense of responsibility, and I'm an Enneagram 2. Do you know about the Enneagram numbers? I'm an Enneagram 2, which means I'm a very caring, nurturing person. So I probably care too much about what other people think of me, and that probably plays a little bit into my groundedness. But yeah, I guess I've also always had a responsible streak that I can't even remember what the original question was, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here.
You're supposed to be grounded and explaining why you're grounded.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really a flighty personality, but I've just always loved acting and reading and studying characters and playing around with voices. And being on stage.
Well, let me ask this, because there's some people in the writing community who write under a pseudonym, and in many cases, these people are shy. And of course, that's almost a typical writer, shy or introverted.
Yeah.
And one person told me that one of the things they discovered about themselves is when they started writing under a pseudonym, it was like an actor taking on a different role,
Yes.
and in a sense becoming a different person,
Yes.
and in a sense freeing them up.
Mm-hmm.
And so
well,
I guess, go ahead.
I have to say, I'm glad you mentioned that. I am absolutely an outgoing introvert. I love to laugh. I love to converse, and I love to be with people, but I also need my space. And I have a lot of imposter syndrome in everything I do. So which is shyness, I think, but to be a character and be on stage is just no problem at all, and just another world, and feels like I can just be free and let go and almost be myself within somebody else. And I think that's how audiobooks feel too, and why I love it so much.
There was an audiobook that my wife and I heard recently. It was written by Frederick Bachman, who wrote A Man Called Ovi. But this is called Anxious People. And we heard it as an audiobook. Mirren Ireland is the narrator.
Okay.
And she embodies about 8 different female characters, and it's brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that would be, something worth taking a look at to see how she went about doing that. But I like the way you get Lark. And what is it about Lark?
Even though I'm not a journalist, I think a lot of her life experiences, I haven't had many boyfriends be murdered or die of drug overdoses, but I have experienced the sexual assault and uncomfortable situations that she's in, and just being a woman, and in this time period, it just, even though we have not lived the same life, there's an essence of her that feels like a slightly younger version of me. I don't want to age myself too much.
Okay. Well, so when is this book going to be coming out, do you think?
So I think that everything definitely within a month, but I think everything will be done in 3 weeks, I think.
Okay, so it's coming along well.
Yes.
We haven't talked about, this is itfits.com.
If it fits. Yes, that is my
husband's
website. His company, he edits content for allears.net, and makes his own movies and short films, and sometimes you can see me in those, but I don't do much on camera work anymore.
But you have done some TV work, right? Network TV?
Yes, I was an extra on Boardwalk Empire, but I was pretty featured in the first episode and another. I'm not sure which other episode of Pan Am. Do you remember?
Yeah.
That TV show? Yeah, those costumes were amazing. I got to be on some TV with some very period looks, and get all dialed up in some period costumes. So that was really, really fun.
So tell me about meeting your husband. How did that all come about?
Oh man. So we were cast in one of our first equity theater jobs with TheaterWorks USA, and we went out on tour with a bunch of strangers and performed a version of Charlotte's Web, and to little kids all over the country. And that was a 6-month tour. About a month into it, we just fell in love. Charlotte and Wilbur.
Now, come on, it doesn't work like that, does
It kind of did.
Oh, really?
Something a little scandalous. I was actually engaged at the time that we met,
Okay.
and yeah, we met, and just the rest was history.
That must have been difficult
Yes.
because that's a very
Mhm.
delicate situation.
Yeah, it was
And
a
I would
difficult.
imagine that there are a lot of women who would feel obligated,
Hmm.
to go through with it,
Mhm.
don't make any waves. How did
Mhm.
you think that part of it through?
I just knew that it's the rest of my life, and I only wanted to be married once, and if something wasn't right now, it wasn't going to be right ever, you know. So yeah, so we waited to express our love until I could talk in person with with the other guy.
Well, I mean, there are some people who just break up by text, so you
Oh
didn't do
yes,
that.
no.
That must have been a hard conversation.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Well, but
Mhm.
at the same time, fear is something I teach about a lot.
Mhm.
And I mean, I think what you've just explained is a typical fear situation
Mhm.
because, you don't want to offend the person, you'll hurt them, you don't know if there's going to be any kind of blowback.
Mhm.
Um, just in terms of the fear issue, did you learn anything about courage from that experience?
Yes. I guess in hindsight, that you it's your life and you have to be willing to live it, and speak up for yourself and have the tough conversations, or it's not going to be right for anyone involved. And I think with relationships, um yeah, it's a two-way street, and you always have to have an open line of communication, and you have to be willing to have those hard conversations, or this one life that you get is not going to be the life that you want when you're looking back on it at the end of it.
And
Really.
it's interesting that you work with middle school kids, and
Mhm.
I mean that's a squirrely age to begin with,
Yes.
and it takes a certain kind of person to be able to teach
Yeah.
that. My wife taught middle school music, and my guess is you've probably had some heart to hearts with some students who are trying to work through things.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. The middle school age, they like to, even in the high school age, they kind of like to hide it until you can pry it out of them. But I do think that I've always been that teacher that the kids think that they can go to and confide in, and if they weren't, if something was happening and they needed to talk to an adult, and maybe administration needed to know about something, I do feel like I was that teacher that they could come to and talk to. Yeah.
Do you get a sense that there's a certain animosity toward teachers among the general public or not?
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah.
In what way?
Um, I hear frequently that we're paid too much for working half of a year. Um, that we have an easy job. That we didn't work during the pandemic, which I cannot say that I did because I took a year of maternity leave, but I did get a good 5 months of it. Um, yeah, there's a lot.
Hear me? How do you deal with that?
I try to disengage. If I see something online, I just, at this point, I just disengage and try to breathe. If somebody directly says something to me, I try to offer an alternate point of view, and, maybe say you didn't consider, this that we do, or,
Mhm.
how teaching compares to other jobs. And I tend to always say, well, you chose the job you went into. I chose this job. So we could have all, chosen different jobs if you're not, if if you want the teacher schedule, you could go, become a teacher.
Right, exactly. What do you think is
Sorry, my
the,
dog is barking.
well, that's his live television, so that's the way it is. What do you think the biggest misconception is that people have about teachers?
That it's a job that ends when you leave the building, and that you're only working during those hours of school.
Well, what are you doing outside of class?
Oh my gosh, lesson planning. I mean, I can only really speak to a music teacher, but I'm learning new songs every week, or, learning a bass part or a tenor part. This coming year, I'm working with a whole new age group. So that will be all new lesson plans that I'll be working on every night, and, learning songs for K through 5 instead of the high school repertoire that I was used to, keeping up on my piano skills and my vocal skills and music theory, and, just constantly keeping up on my craft, and, using my skills to help. If I don't keep up on my skills, how can I use them in the classroom?
Do you do any music theater with the kids?
I have music directed a couple of the plays in the district. I music directed the middle school production of Grease, Annie,
Oh, nice.
and Seussical. That might have been it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there was another one. Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Well, you're a delightful person. And
Oh,
I'm looking forward to the finished product, and I think we'll talk again once the book is ready to come out. So this is a teaser.
yes.
For the upcoming audio version of Fake. I have a copy of it right here. That's the hard copy. That's me. I wrote it, and that's Candace Fitzgerald, who is the voice of Lark Chadwick, and Candace definitely gets Lark.
Oh, I mean. I see my mom is Denise Laricki. Hi, Mom.
Oh, that's the mom. Yeah,
She can vouch. I think she was
something.
She was talking about my that's when we were talking about my personality.
And someone says that you have he atmosphere spirit. Do you know what he?
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Okay, well, it's something.
Atmosphere spirit. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, we'll do this again.
Yes, this was fun.
Now get back to work.
I know. No, not tonight. The voice is a little tired. I was up till midnight recording last night.
Didn't you tell me that your voice is lower in the morning, so you're gonna try to tape Lionel in the morning?
I did, but I just do not. My daughter, her wake time is so unpredictable, and she's up by 5 sometimes. So it was just not going to happen. And even if I did Lionel, Lark's, he said, or she, those just weren't sounding right. I think, no, I think what I've done with Lionel has worked now. Yeah.
Okay.
He's good.
Okay. Well, we'll see about that.
Yes, we will.
Excellent. Candace, this has been a treat. It's wonderful to talk to you, and to be continued.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.